Not many people know this, but my name, Remy, is short for the Nigerian name Oluwaremilegun, which means God has dried my tears. And there's a little story behind this. My mom was able to have my brother, but in between those years, she struggled with infertility. And in that time, she started to give up hope. After 3 or 4 tries, it seemed like she'd never have the baby girl or boy that she'd always dreamed of having again. But she tried just one more time. And that one time paid off because she had me. And I dried her tears. And on that day, June 30th, 2001, when I came out crying, when she straddled me in her arms, she had dried my tears too. After that moment, we were 2 peas in a pod. She was the peanut butter to my jelly, and I was the cake to her frosting. Since my brother is 19 years older than me and my dad wasn't really in the picture, me and my mother were like this. My mother was never perfect, but no one is. And I lost her 7 years ago. November 1st will be her death anniversary, and I wanted to give this speech in honor of her. First, my mother was my hero. She dedicated her life for me and my brother. And I know most children can say that about their mothers, but I think my mother is special. See, like I said, my family is Nigerian. I'm a first-generation American, and my mother immigrated from Nigeria when she was, let's say, 16 to come to the US. That's scary enough on its own, but she was pregnant with my brother. Being pregnant as a teen and traveling to a whole new continent to have a child and start a new life, that's just mind-boggling to me. But she did it. Through scraggly jobs, community college, she did it all. She sacrificed an easy life of being a teenager to take care of my brother and later on to take care of me. That's something I could never say that I would be able to do. And I've always admired her becoming a martyr for our family. Secondly, my mother taught me to stick up for myself. I remember this one time. I spent the first 2 years of my schooling in a private Catholic school. So when I got into first grade and switched to public school, the transition was not easy. I was the new weird girl. I spoke properly. I wasn't like everyone else. Naturally, I became a target, and I was scared. I was terrified. Me personally, I'd never been bullied up until that point. So me standing there as a 6-year-old girl being picked on by these much bigger, taller, buffer girls than me, I didn't know what to do. It was then that my mom showed up, and she didn't do what most conventional moms would have done. In fact, I would say a lot of conventional moms would frown upon what she did, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. Instead, she didn't do anything. She watched it happen. And on the ride back home, she scolded me and was mad at me for not sticking up for myself. That day, she instilled in me that I was a strong, young, growing Black girl. And in this country, if I wanted to be strong, I'd have to stick up for myself. I had to talk. I had to speak. I had a voice, and it was meant to be heard. She taught me to be independent, and for that, I'd always be grateful. Along with the independence, she also instilled tenacity. Being a single mom and living in America, especially in the DMV area, it got expensive, and my dad was of no help. We went through some hard times. We got evicted from our house, and for a while, we went from place to place, staying off of, living off from other people. At one point, it got so bad we stayed in homeless shelters and even in our car for a little while. And even if it got that bad, she never gave up hope. She kept her faith in God. She kept her faith that it would get better. She kept the smile on her face, and she kept going for me, for us. And I will never forget that. If she hadn't kept going, if she hadn't been my hero at that time, I wouldn't be here today getting my education, trying to build a life for myself, for my future children, for my future family. And for that, I'll always be grateful. There are so many other things I can say about my mother. Like I already said, she was a fighter. She was sassy. She had a tongue on her. She was very homely, very maternal. She loved to cook and clean. She could cook the best Nigerian dishes, but when I say her pork chops were the best, they were the best. And her sweet potato casserole. It was amazing. My mother was many things. She wasn't perfect, but she was my mother. And there hasn't been a day that's gone by that I haven't thought of her. May she rest in blissful peace. Thank you for listening.